Okay, so before I go back and I start editing my joints, it's probably a good idea to export out all of my weights so far. So let's go ahead and export these out. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a built-in batch exporter. I did look, and there is a Python API. So if you are into scripting, you could write a little batch script, but that's outside the scope of what I'm trying to do here. So I'll just do this. So I'm just going to name this the same as the meshes. So mesh shoulder pads, mesh belt, mesh leg armor, mesh upper body, mesh upper legs, mesh armor, mesh lower legs, mesh hair, I was gonna say what? And then this will be mesh teeth, tongue, eyes, and mesh lower cloth. Because when we go back, there is a move skin joints tool in skin, move skin joints, but I usually don't use that personally because I tend to use my other tool set. And for me, what that's going to look like is I'm just going to go ahead and edit the position. And you can kind of see that as I do this, I can maintain that aim. So this one I'm going to put kind of up here by the leg armor joint. And then I'm going to shift all these other ones up a little bit. And I have the wireframe unshaded so I can kind of see where a good place to shift them is. So probably something like that for that side. And then I can mirror those over. And then for the back, same idea, just going to move this up closer to right under the belt and then shift some of these ones below it, which is definitely going to mess up the weights. We're going to have to revisit those, but if you remember, that didn't take too terribly long, so I'm not too concerned about it. And that's it. That's all I need to do here. So whether you use the Move Skin Joints tool or you are using M-Gear or whatever you're using, that's all I'm really trying to do here. So I'm going to go back and build my skeleton. You'll see that my skinning is all gone. But that's why I saved out all my weights. So I just went in off camera and just imported all my layers back in. So everything is bound again. And like we did before, I'm gonna hide the double-sided cloth and work off the proxy cloth. Since the weights that we saved out were applicable to both, we can just load those same weights back in. And what you're going to notice is that, these are now just going to be not great. And so this is pretty simple. I can actually just, kind of kill all of those layers. So we're just back to nothing. So now there's no influence. I'm going to create again and do front cloth. And I'm not going to do this on camera because I already did it before, but it's going to be the same process. I'm going to create those 3 layers, skin that, and I'll see you in a moment when that's done. Okay, so I have finished skinning on the proxy cloth. Let me just test this out real quick. So same test. If we come here and we move this out, going to be a little bit easier for us to get a decent pose. And as you can see, that pose could kind of look like, you know, this. But at least we're able to do something about that. And I think the cloth will even look better than what I, you know, have here. Because yeah, we can bring that in, and then let's just kind of do something like that. But that's much better, so I'm going to keep that. And like before, I'm going to save this out to our cloth. And let's import that on this closest point on surface. Hide that, and then double check this again. And there we go. So my joints are definitely higher up now, which will help me with those poses. So now I think this is in a good spot. So what's going to happen next is we're going to get this to Unreal. So before, to get ready for that, actually let's go ahead and export this out. So when I export, I grab the root, meshes, we don't need to worry about this, and we can export selection. Because we've talked about doing cloth simulation though, there's a couple things to keep in mind. I believe the hair is already its own material ID. Let me double check it in the rendering editors, Hypershade, bring this over. It is not. Okay, so that'll be the first thing we do. We can select the material. We're gonna duplicate this, the shading network, and I'm gonna call this hair and select it. So now the hair should only be that, and this will be everything else. I'm gonna rename this as well. Doesn't look like this is used, so let me delete unused. Yep, that's not used. And then we're also going to need a material ID for the lower cloth. Basically anything that's going to be cloth sim has to have its own material ID, because that's how you assign what is cloth or what the cloth actually acts on. So for this, we're going to duplicate the body again. So duplicate shading network. I'll call this cloth M, and right click, assign material to selection. So let's see if our cloth, that looks good, that looks good, that looks good. And the other thing about cloth is that you're gonna usually want a simulation mesh. We've basically already built one for the cloth down here. It's the single-sided mesh. We'll use this as our sim mesh. So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to right click and do assign favorite material, and I'm just going to do Lambert and just name this proxy. I'll do sim cloth M. Your simulation mesh needs to be its own material ID as well, because we actually are going to use the simulation will be assigned to that. And then we're going to hide that material ID. It won't be visible, because we don't want this visible, but we do want it to drive the other cloth. And we're using a single-sided mesh as the sim mesh for the exact same reason as weighting. It will just make it a lot cleaner and simpler to deal with these double-sided faces if you're simulating just one side rather than two sides. Plus it will be cheaper, it's less vertices to simulate. We do not have a simulation mesh for the hair. So I am actually going to do that in the next video, and then we will get ready to export this and get it into Unreal Engine. So next video, I'm going to build a sim mesh for the hair, and then we'll start working in the editor.